Transition function. Transition function has two ways to represent: transition diagram and transition table. In transition diagram, there are some symbols used, such as arrow, circle and state, input or alphabet, self loop, final state, and initial state. Let's see one by one each and every symbol. Arrow. This arrow represents transition from one state to another. See here in this example. This is the example of transition diagram. In this example, if we want to go from Q0 to Q1 state, if we want to reach from Q0 to Q1 state, we will use this arrow. If we want to reach Q2 state from Q1 state, we will use this arrow. For example, if you want to reach Q2 state from Q0, then we will use arrow. Now, next is to represent state. How we can represent states? Like you can see in this example, we want to represent Q0 state, then we will use circle. Inside that circle, inside that triangle, we will write the state. State can be represented in any alphabet, not only Q. You can write A0, A1, A2, A3, P0, P1, P2, P3, etc. But we will see that in many example, or in fact in exam also, Q0, Q1, Q2 like this it is used. So we will use Q0, Q1, Q2, Q3 up to Qn for each and every example of the transition diagram. Now next, in this diagram you can see that in between each state Q0 and Q1, Q1 and Q2, there are some symbols or there are some alphabet used, such as A, B, like this, like this. What are they? What are they? They are the input symbol or alphabet. What does it mean? If we want to go Q0 to Q1 state, we need to give Q0 state the input A. If we give Q0 state input A, if we give Q0 state input A, then and then only we will reach to the Q1 state. Like that, if we want to reach to the Q2 state, we need to give Q1 state input symbol B. Now next is self loop. Here, if you want to stay in the same state, then we will use the self loop. If we give Q0 state B input or B alphabet, we will stay in the same state, that is Q0. Same as for Q1 and same as for Q2. If we give Q2 state A and B both, we will stay in the Q2 state itself. This is just an example. It is not compulsory that if we want to stay in the same state like Q2 state, we need to give A and B and then only we will stay in the Q2 state. No, it is just the example. Now next is final state. To represent final state, we will use two circles like this. In this example, our final state is Q2. Why? Because suppose if we give some string to this example or this finite automata or this transition diagram, suppose we need to give string A and B, AB to this diagram. Then Q0 we need to give A, then we will reach at Q1. For B, we will reach at Q2. This here our string should be accepted, that is AB string should be accepted by this state. those state which accept the given string or given alphabet. Those state which accept the given string can be known as final state. Suppose we want to check for the string A, B, B. This is the string which we want to check. A, B, B. For that, we see that we will always start with the initial state. Here you can see that initial state can be represented like this. So if we want to give AABB string, or if we want to check that whether this string will be accepted by this automata or not, then we will start from the initial state. Here what is our initial state? Here what is our initial state? Q0. AABB. First alphabet is A. So Q0 we need to give Q0 A input. If we give Q0 A, it will reach at Q1. Now next is A. Now where A is, it is in the self loop. So we are here at Q1 status. Now next is B. So if we give Q1 B input, we are reaching at Q2 state. Now last string is remaining B. If we give B input, then we will stay in the same state, and that same state is final state. So here string is accepted. So to represent final state, we will use this symbol. Now let's see about transition table. Whatever we have draw in transition diagram, we need to just represent in the transition table. Suppose for this example, how many states are used? Q0, Q1 and Q2. So we need to write those states in this column. States Q0, Q1 and Q2. Final state you can write it like this also. Q2 start. Or you can write like this also. Now, whatever the symbols used in the transition diagram, we need to write in this horizontal way or in this row A and B. Now, if we give Q0 state A input, where we will reach at Q1 state. So here we need to write that. If we give Q0 state A input, we are reaching at Q1 state. If we give Q0 state input B, we are reaching at state itself Q0. Like that, we need to write for each and every state Q1 and Q2.